Hi, this is Real World Audio, and this is, I think, one of the most important videos about void pipes. And this is about explicit warnings. So, because when you look at void pipes, people report either fantastic results, that this is one of the best loudspeaker I ever had. I don't want anything more. This is my last loudspeaker. And others will say that it was meh, it was like a weak try, thanks but no. and and now I'm going to list you those circumstances that make the difference between these two scenarios. So those who cannot wait, its loudspeaker placement is absolutely tremendously vital. Your room acoustics, if your room acoustics is not good, then it will never become you will never hear their potential. It's hamstringing them to an extreme degree. And equipment matching, and you would say that this is true for every loudspeaker. Yes, to a certain degree, loudspeakers do respond to all of these considerations, but while most loudspeakers are much less responsive to this than void pipes. So void pipes respond to all of these scenarios to an extreme degree. So for example, for loudspeaker matching, equipment matching, if you have different amplifiers, different gear, then a generic bass reflex cabinet will show you some difference between two amplifiers, and you might not hear any difference between two interconnects. But if you switch it up for a void pipe, then if you change a single solder joint, you can hear the difference. They are so sensitive. And also for room acoustics, it will absolutely make or break. It's not just a medium level difference, and loudspeaker placement is absolutely vital. And it's so vital that actually, while for example for other loudspeakers like bookshelf, small cabinets, if you have like a general setup, like for example you keep like 3 feet away from the side wall, 4 feet away from the back wall, and you toe them in like 5 degrees, and that's like a general pretty good idea to set them up. No, for void pipes, it's like if you change their position by 1 millimeter, that will make or break a difference. Or if you change the toe in 1 degree or two, you will already have vast impact. And it's not like there's a general setup method for them, that how distant you have to keep it from the wall exactly. No, it is totally up to your room, and you have to play around, basically moving each of the loudspeakers around, inch by inch, millimeter by millimeter, and toying with it. And it can take quite a long time to find the optimal placement. For me, it took 1 year to find a good position for them. And until then, I was really happy with them from the first moment on. But after 1 year, that was the first time when I truly heard something that's getting close to their full potential, which is light years ahead of not having optimized loudspeaker placement. And then be prepared that it will take you forever to find their placement, and you have to use your ears to hear what's the difference between places. But the benefit of that is that when you learn to place them properly, you will also have the auditory skills to place any loudspeaker in any room without needing to resort to measurements. And nowadays, I if I go to a room and then hear loudspeakers, I listen to them for a minute, and then I instinctively know how to change their position to get a much better sound for them. So that's a journey for the void pipes, is that their placement will take a lot of time. It's not so easy to place as a generic loudspeaker, but the benefit is that it will give you a learning experience, so you will be a pro at placing loudspeakers. And basically, to have success with a Voigt pipe, you need to treat your Voigt pipe as a music instrument. That is, a music instrument needs to be tuned, needs to have a good room to sing in it, and it needs the skills, needs a skillful player to play it. If anyone just gets a Carnieri or or another high-level violin, then if you don't know how to play it, it will be sounding awful. And that's the same thing with Voigt pipe. If you match it with an unskilled amplifier, it doesn't matter if it can pump out tremendous power, if it has a high background noise, it doesn't have low-level resolution, it has some tendencies to color the sound in specific ways. The Voigt pipe will throw it in your face without the slightest mercy. And it's not, whatever you are hearing, it's not the deficiency of your Voigt pipes, it's the deficiency of your system translated to you by the Voigt pipe. And if you improve your system, then the sound through the Voigt pipe will be much better. And I got a surprise for you guys. Then if you can tune your system to sound great with the Voigt pipe, it will sound great with other loudspeakers as well. So it's not a good excuse to toss your Voigt pipe if you are not satisfied with your result and go for another speaker, because you will be still hamstringing that other loudspeaker. It's much better to find an optimal, good sounding amplifier and system and sources with a Voigt pipe, even and then if you want, you can use other loudspeakers and you will have already an advantage that you weeded out the gross offenders. And the same thing with violin as with the Voigt pipe. If you don't have a good room acoustics for a violin, if you try to play a violin in a stuffy room or a tiny room or something like that, it will not sound good. And if you don't tune your violin, it will not sound good either. And the Voigt pipe, you are tuning it by loudspeaker placement. So all of these things, it absolutely makes or breaks a Voigt pipe. And if you don't have good quality gear driving it, you don't have appropriate room acoustics, and if you do not place them properly, then you are not hearing anything from the potential of these truly amazing loudspeakers. And the good thing is that the slightest changes in your system, the slightest change in your room and placement, they will report it and you will hear it. So if you have a problem of not hearing these things, then a Voigt pipe is the best way to learn and fine-tune your skills. And now, until this was just my anecdotal evidence, but I will give you guys hardcore evidence of why the loudspeaker placement makes or breaks a Voigt pipe, and why there is no just generic advice on how to place them, because they need to be truly fine-tuned to every room, and this is the reason why. So basically, for that, we need to see what are the unevenness in the frequency response of a Voigt pipe versus the unevenness of a generic loudspeaker box. So usual loudspeaker boxes are rectangular shape, and they have a depth as well, so everything is rectangular, and each of these dimensions, the height, the width, and the depth, they define a box coloration mode. And because of the size of the loudspeakers, these box colorations defined by the lowest is by the longest size, so in this case the height, and then the width, and if the depth is the shallowest, then that will be the highest frequency. These three frequency peaks in the box colorations indicate the size of your loudspeaker. And that's why people are doing such things as golden ratio, because if you use the golden ratio, that's when these peaks are the furthest from each other. However, as I said, using golden ratio, the distance between the peaks is not natural, it's not on a musical scale, and it will sound bothersome, even though these peaks add up the least. So you have, you have these bothersome box colorations for regular loudspeakers in the mid-range, which is the most disturbing. So for Voigt pipes, you do not have that, because we have a wedge shape, so there's not a single frequency amplified, but here we have like high frequencies, and then we get lower frequencies. So there is no dominant frequency in the mid bass. We do not have mode in the mid bass and high frequency. However, because of the nature of the pipe, we have a comb filter effect in the bass response. So basically, Voigt pipes have uneven bass response. And everyone will tell you that this is the disadvantage of Voigt pipes. And everyone is trying to make their response even. However, you can use this uneven bass response to your advantage, because your room also has uneven bass response. So basically, the uneven bass response of your room are called the room modes, and where your room sucks out bass or pumps out energy, adds tremendous energy to your bass. And your Voigt pipes has a similar response in the bass. It at certain frequencies lots of energy, and other places energy suck out in the low frequency range. Now, if you place your Voigt pipes very carefully, and you manage to cancel out most of your room modes, then the resulting frequency response in the bass you hear is very even. And if you don't place them properly, and the room modes and the comb filter effects add up, then you will have an extremely choppy bass response, and that will result in a very colored sound, and with an overall effect that the Voigt pipe doesn't have any bass at all. And when you are getting that response, that's why you are getting it, because the room placement is not optimized. And when you optimize it, that's the number one way to fix the low end of your Voigt pipe. So that's it. So this is the most important thing about positioning, and how you can make sure that you will enjoy your Voigt pipe. And if you are not ready to play around with their exact positioning, and if you have your room, it has a terrible room acoustics, maybe it's just way too small, or maybe it's medium size but it's crammed. If you have like tons of cabinets, furniture, like 3 coffee tables, like 10 bookshelves, everything is crammed, there's no air in the room, then they will not sound good. Never. I have tried my Voigt pipes in and other Voigt pipes in actually just my own alone in about 10 different rooms, and in each room they sounded drastically different, even using the same system with them. And that's why I know that room absolutely makes or breaks a Voigt pipe. With my same Voigt pipes, I heard them sing in the worst rooms as $100 or less loudspeaker picked up from the thrift store. That's one extreme, and the other extreme is one of the best sound I ever heard by any given any price you can get at. And I have heard the very best kettle drum timpani reproduction by my Voigt pipes without a subwoofer, and that was the most holographic, biggest, most phenomenal timpani ever. That the only timpani I ever heard that it was a real life reproduction. That was by Voigt pipe, properly placed in my mentor's large room, which was fantastically the acoustically fantastically done showroom, and that's the potential of Voigt pipes that you can get at. And actually it was a very large room as well. So anyway, I have given you guys a fair warning. If you have a good room acoustics or very good or excellent, and you have a wonderful system to play for it, and you have the dedication to find their placement, they will be your last loudspeakers. So thank you guys. Bye bye.